The communication room on Kepler Station was always busy. Messages flew between star systems like birds in an endless sky. Trade reports came from merchant ships. Military updates arrived from patrol fleets. Scientists shared discoveries from distant worlds. But today something was wrong. Kethavar stared at the empty screen in front of him. His blue skin had turned pale, and his forearms hung limp at his sides. As the Zephyrian Empire's main ambassador to the Galactic Council, he knew every communication pattern by heart. The humans should have sent their weekly report 3 days ago. They never missed a report. Never. Computer, show me all human transmissions from the last 30 days, Kethavar said. The screen filled with data. Message after message scrolled past, but they all stopped at the same date. Standard day, 2:47. The last message came from Fleet Commander Sarah Chen of the exploration vessel, Defiant Hope. Her face had been tired but excited as she spoke into the camera. This is Commander Chen reporting from Grid Section 7 Alpha. We've made first contact with an unknown species near the Void Nebula. Initial contact went well. They call themselves the Travelers. We're following standard first contact procedures. Full report and cultural data will be transmitted in our next scheduled communication. Chen out. That was 28 days ago. Since then, nothing. Kethavar's stomach twisted. In the 3 years since humans had joined the galactic community, they had become predictable in the best way possible. Every week, their 17 exploration fleets sent detailed reports. They shared star maps that were better than anything the older races had made. They sent updates about new planets, new species, new trade opportunities. They even sent what they called check-in messages, just to say hello. The humans were young and eager. Most alien races found them annoying at first. They asked too many questions. They wanted to explore everything. They made friends too quickly and trusted too easily. But they had grown on everyone. Even the ancient ethereal collective enjoyed their company. Kethavar pressed a button on his desk. Within minutes, representatives from the 5 major galactic powers appeared on his communication screen. These emergency meetings were rare and serious. Admiral Zarthok of the Zephyrian Empire appeared first. His red eyes glowed with concern. The Zephyrians were warriors, but they respected humans for their fighting spirit. What is the situation, Ambassador? Next came Velani from the merchant consortium of Vega. Her green, plant-like skin rustled as she moved. If this is about trade routes, I hope it's good news. We need those human innovations. The ethereal collective sent their representative, a being of pure energy called Lumara. It spoke without a mouth, its voice echoing in everyone's minds. We sense disturbance in the cosmic patterns. The human chaos energy has gone quiet. From the insectoid hive mind of Proxima came Queen Node Zixara. Her compound eyes reflected light as she clicked her mandibles. The collective calculates irregular patterns in communication data. Specify the problem. Finally, the Silicon Brotherhood's cubic representative, Unit 347, appeared. Its crystal surface pulsed with colored lights. Data streams show anomalous gaps, requesting clarification. Kethavar took a deep breath. The humans have gone silent. No communications for 28 days. All 17 exploration fleets. Nothing. The silence that followed was heavy. Each representative showed concern in their own way. Zarthok's fists clenched. Velani's leaves turned a worried yellow. Lumara's energy form flickered. Zixara's clicking stopped completely. Unit 347's lights flashed rapidly. This is impossible, Velani said. Humans never stop talking. They send messages about everything. They once sent a 3-hour transmission just to share what they called funny cat videos. Their last report mentioned first contact, Kethavar continued. Commander Chen seemed happy about it. She said they would send full details in their next communication. Zarthok leaned forward. Show me their last known positions. The star map appeared on their screens. Red dots marked the locations of human fleets across the galaxy's outer rim. All the dots were in deep space, far from any major civilizations. The humans had been exploring uncharted regions as they always did. They could be experiencing equipment failures, Unit 347 suggested. Human technology is still developing. No, Lumara said, its mental voice troubled. We would sense their life energies even without machines. There is only emptiness where they should be. Zixara's head tilted. The collective has run probability calculations. The chance of all 17 fleets experiencing simultaneous communication failure is 0.003%. Something else has occurred. Admiral Zarthok studied the map. As a military commander, he saw patterns others might miss. Look at their positions. They were spread across the entire outer rim, but their last messages all came from this area. He pointed to a region near the Void Nebula. They were converging. Converging on what? Velani asked. That's what we need to find out, Zarthok replied. The humans might have found something dangerous, or something dangerous might have found them. The truth was, each empire had grown to depend on humans, in different ways. The Zephyrians respected their fighting spirit and unpredictable tactics. The Merchant Consortium loved their creativity and constant innovation. The Ethereal Collective found their chaotic mental energy fascinating. The Hive Mind appreciated their problem-solving abilities. The Silicon Brotherhood valued their unique data patterns. Humans had become more than allies. They were friends, partners, and teachers. They brought joy and excitement to a galaxy that had grown old and set in its ways. We must investigate, Zarthok declared. If the humans are in trouble, we have a duty to help them. They would do the same for any of us. Everyone agreed. They had all seen human nature firsthand. When the Proximan border worlds were attacked by space pirates, human volunteers had arrived before anyone even asked for help. When the Vegan trade routes were disrupted by asteroid storms, human engineers had worked around the clock to find solutions. When the Silicon Brotherhood's main computer network was infected by a virus, human programmers had dove into the digital realm to fight the infection directly. Humans gave freely and fought bravely. They made mistakes, but they always tried to fix them. They were loud and chaotic, but they brought life to everything they touched. Each of our governments must prepare response fleets, Velani said. The humans have shared their technology, and friendship with us, we owe them our help. Agreed, said Lumara. The cosmic balance demands action. The galaxy feels empty without human voices. Zixara clicked rapidly. The collective will commit resources. Human unpredictability has proven valuable in past conflicts. Their loss would reduce galactic defensive capabilities by 23%. Unit 347's lights pulsed in mathematical patterns. Analysis confirms human data streams represent 12% of total galactic innovation. Recovery mission is economically justified. Admiral Zarthok stood up, his warrior's instincts fully engaged. Then it's decided. We launch immediately. Whatever happened to our human friends, they won't face it alone. As the communication ended, each representative began preparing their people for what might be the most important rescue mission in galactic history. None of them knew what they would find in the dark spaces where humanity had disappeared. But they all knew one thing. The humans would have come for them. The galaxy felt colder without human laughter. It felt darker without human curiosity. It felt more dangerous without human hope. Whatever had silenced humanity's voice would soon learn what it meant to anger 5 galactic empires at once. The news spread across 5 different empires like wildfire. Within hours, every major government knew that humanity had gone silent. Within days, massive fleets were preparing to launch toward the outer rim. But each empire understood the situation differently. Admiral Zarthok stood in the war room of the Zephyrian flagship Crimson Thunder. Around him, his officers studied star charts and battle plans. The Zephyrians were born warriors. They had fought countless battles across the galaxy. They understood war, honor, and death. The humans have met their match, Zarthok told his crew. Somewhere out there, they encountered an enemy too strong for them. They fought bravely as humans always do, but they were overwhelmed. His officers nodded. They had seen humans fight before. Humans were smaller and weaker than most species, but they never gave up. They used tricks and strategies that no computer could predict. They fought with emotions that made them dangerous and unpredictable. If they're prisoners, we'll free them, Zarthok continued. If they're dead, we'll avenge them. Either way, whoever hurt our human friends will learn why the Zephyrian Empire is feared across the galaxy. The third battle fleet began loading weapons and supplies. 50 warships prepared for combat. Thousands of Zephyrian warriors sharpened their claws and checked their armor. They were going to war. Meanwhile, in the crystal cities of the Vegan Merchant Consortium, Director Velani faced a different kind of crisis. Her advisors filled the meeting hall, their leaf-like bodies rustling with worry. The economic impact will be severe, one advisor reported. Human trade represents 31% of our innovation imports. They supply us with new technologies every month. Without them, our growth will slow by at least 40%. Velani touched her bark-like skin thoughtfully. Humans were her best business partners. They created things that shouldn't be possible. They found solutions to problems that had puzzled older races for centuries. They made tools that worked better, ships that flew faster, and computers that thought clearer. The humans must have found something valuable, she decided. Maybe a new technology or a rich planet. Something so amazing that they forgot to send reports while they studied it. But even as she spoke, Velani felt doubt growing in her mind. Humans never forgot to communicate. They loved sharing discoveries. If they had found something wonderful, they would have called everyone to share the excitement. Prepare the rescue fleet, she ordered. Load it with supplies, medical equipment, and communication devices. If our human friends are stranded somewhere, we'll bring them everything they need. The consortium's fastest ships began preparing for launch. They carried food, fuel, spare parts, and emergency shelters. Velani hoped they would find the humans alive and well, maybe just dealing with broken communication systems. Far from the physical worlds, in the energy realm where the ethereal collective existed, ancient minds felt a great disturbance. Lumara floated among the other energy beings, sharing thoughts and memories without words. The human chaos patterns have vanished, Lumara communicated to the collective. For 3 years, their mental energy has filled the galaxy like bright flowers in a gray field. Now there is only silence. The ethereal collective was older than most civilizations. They had watched species rise and fall across millions of years. They had seen wars, plagues, and natural disasters destroy entire worlds. But they had never encountered anything quite like humans. Human minds were unique. They created constantly, thought in impossible directions, and felt emotions so strongly that other psychic species could sense them across star systems. Humans brought chaos to the ordered universe. But it was beautiful chaos. It was the chaos of life, creativity, and endless possibility. Something has disrupted the cosmic balance, the collective agreed. The universe feels less alive without human thoughts. We must investigate this disturbance before it spreads. The most powerful psychic ships in the galaxy began gathering energy for a long journey. The ethereal collective would send their best minds to find out what could silence such vibrant life forces. In the hive cities of Proxima, billions of insectoid minds shared a single consciousness. Queen Node Zigzara processed data from thousands of sources simultaneously. The collective intelligence of her species calculated probabilities and outcomes faster than any computer. Analysis complete, she announced to her subordinate nodes. Human disappearance creates significant tactical disadvantage. Humans provide 47% of galactic innovation variance. Their unpredictable problem-solving methods have resolved 73% of recent military deadlocks. The hive mind didn't understand emotions the way other species did. They thought in terms of efficiency, resources, and tactical advantage. But they had learned to value human unpredictability. When the collective mind got stuck on a problem, humans could always suggest solutions that no logical process would discover. Human loss unacceptable, Zixara decided. Commit 2 full swarm clusters to recovery operation. Priority: maximum search coverage, minimum time delay. Millions of insectoid workers began preparing ships and supplies. The hive mind moved with perfect coordination, every action planned and efficient. They would find the humans because losing them would make the galaxy less interesting, less innovative, and less capable of surviving future challenges. In the geometric cities of the Silicon Brotherhood, crystalline beings processed data at incredible speeds. Unit 347 interfaced directly with the central computer network, downloading information about human communication patterns and behavioral models. Data analysis reveals concerning patterns. Unit 347 reported to the Brotherhood Council. Human. Silence represents loss of 23% of galactic data innovation. Their information-sharing behavior created new knowledge networks across multiple systems. The Silicon Brotherhood valued information above all else. They collected data about everything in the galaxy: star positions, trade routes, species behavior, technological developments. Humans had been valuable contributors to their databases, but more than that, they had taught the Brotherhood new ways to organize and understand information. Human data patterns showed creative correlation algorithms. Unit 347 continued. Their information networks connected concepts in ways our processors had not calculated. Loss of human data streams reduces collective intelligence efficiency by 12%. The Brotherhood began preparing their most advanced exploration ships. These vessels could scan entire star systems in minutes and process massive amounts of data simultaneously. They would find the humans and restore the information networks that had become so valuable to galactic civilization. Across the galaxy, 5 great fleets prepared for the same mission, but with different goals. The Zephyrians wanted to rescue or avenge their warrior friends. The consortium hoped to save their best business partners. The Ethereal Collective sought to restore cosmic balance. The hive mind aimed to recover valuable tactical assets. The Silicon Brotherhood planned to restore crucial data networks, but underneath their different motivations lay a deeper truth that none of them fully understood yet. Each empire had been changed by contact with humanity. The galaxy had become more interesting, more creative, and more hopeful with humans in it. Without them, something essential was missing. Ancient treaties were activated. Emergency powers were granted to fleet commanders. Resources that hadn't been mobilized in decades were brought online. The 5 empires were preparing for the largest joint operation in galactic history. None of them knew what they would find in the dark spaces where humanity had vanished. They expected to find humans under attack, humans in trouble, or humans needing rescue. They prepared for battle, for diplomacy, for emergency aid operations. What they didn't expect was to find a truth that would change their understanding of what it meant to be human. They didn't expect to discover that sometimes the greatest victory requires the ultimate sacrifice. They didn't expect to learn that humans had chosen their fate not for themselves, but for everyone else. The fleets launched toward the void, carrying hope and determination across the emptiness between stars. Behind them, 5 civilizations held their breath and waited for news from the darkness where their friends had disappeared. The 5 fleets met at the edge of the Void Nebula like hunters gathering around a dark forest. Each empire had brought their strongest ships and most experienced crews. The Zephyrians came ready for war. The merchants brought rescue equipment. The Ethereal Collective sent their most powerful psychic vessels. The hive mind deployed efficient swarm formations. The Silicon Brotherhood arrived with advanced scanning technology. Admiral Zarthok stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the strange alliance floating in space. He had never seen such a mixed fleet before. Zephyrian warships bristled with weapons. Vegan merchant vessels carried supplies and equipment. Ethereal energy ships glowed with inner light. Proximon, swarm clusters moved in perfect coordination. Silicon Brotherhood geometric craft processed data constantly. All fleets, this is Admiral Zarthok. He broadcast on the common frequency. We are here for the same purpose. Our human friends are missing and we will find them. Coordinate your search patterns and share all data immediately. The combined fleet spread out across the region where humanity had last been seen. Advanced scanners swept through space looking for any sign of human ships or technology. What they found made everyone uncomfortable. Admiral, we're detecting debris fields, reported his tactical officer. Multiple locations scattered across several light years. On the main screen, pieces of twisted metal floated in the darkness. The debris was clearly from human ships, but something was wrong with it. The metal looked old, corroded in ways that should take centuries to happen in space. Director Villani's voice came over the communication system from her merchant vessel. "Those hull fragments. Our computers can't identify the damage patterns. What could cause metal to age like this in a matter of weeks?" Unit 347 from the Silicon Brotherhood responded with typical mechanical precision. "Scanning reveals anomalous energy signatures. Weapon impacts show characteristics unknown to current databases. Damage patterns suggest temporal displacement effects." Temporal displacement? Lumara's mental voice reached everyone simultaneously. "Time itself has been wounded here. We sense echoes of great pain, confusion, and determination." Queen Node. Zixara's ship cluster moved closer to examine the debris. Collective analysis confirms human vessel destruction occurred, but weapon signatures do not match any known species. Enemy technology operates outside standard physics parameters. Admiral, Zarthok felt his warrior instinct screaming warnings. He had fought many battles, faced many enemies, but he had never seen damage like this. The human ship fragments looked like they had been attacked by something that could bend the rules of reality itself. "Keep scanning," he ordered. "There has to be more evidence. Humans don't die quietly." They were right. As the fleet spread their search pattern wider, they found signs of a massive battle. But the evidence made no sense according to any known military science. Energy readings showed weapon impacts that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Blast craters and space debris suggested explosions that happened both in the past and future simultaneously. Most disturbing of all were the quantum echoes that the Silicon Brotherhood detected, evidence that the attackers existed partially outside normal space and time. "This is impossible," Villani whispered over the communication link. "What kind of enemy can attack from outside reality itself?" Admiral Zarthok's tactical computers crashed when they tried to process the battle data. His most advanced warfare analysis systems simply stopped working when presented with the evidence. The attack patterns were too strange, too impossible, for even military minds to understand. The ethereal collective fared worse. When Lumara tried to read the psychic imprints left by the battle, the energy being screamed in pain and had to retreat. The mental echoes, they burn with emptiness. Whatever did this feeds on the ending of life itself. Even the Silicon Brotherhood's quantum processors struggled. Unit 347's lights flashed in rapid, confused patterns. Data streams contain paradoxical information. Enemy signatures suggest beings that exist between dimensional barriers. Computing systems cannot process contradictory evidence. For hours, the 5 fleets searched through the debris and energy readings, trying to understand what had happened. Then a Vegan scout ship detected something that changed everything. "All vessels, we've found a message buoy," the scout pilot reported. "It's badly damaged but still functional. The design is human." Every ship in the combined fleet turned toward the scout's position. Message buoys were standard equipment on human vessels. They were designed to survive almost any disaster and preserve important information for later discovery. Admiral Zarthok felt his hearts beating faster as the buoy was brought aboard his flagship. The device was scorched and twisted, barely, held together by emergency power systems. But it was still working. "Activate it," he ordered. The hologram that appeared showed Fleet Commander Sarah Chen, but she looked very different from her last official transmission. Her uniform was torn and burned. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Behind her, the bridge of her ship sparked with electrical fires, and emergency lights flashed red. But her eyes were clear and determined. "To whoever finds this message," Chen began, her voice steady despite her obvious injuries. "We have made contact with an enemy unlike anything in our databases. They call themselves the Devourers." The hologram flickered as power fluctuated in the damaged buoy. "The Devourers are not from our dimension. They exist in the spaces between realities, feeding on the extinction of entire species. They don't just kill for resources or territory. They consume civilizations for the experience of ending them. They grow stronger with each species they eliminate." Chen paused to wipe blood from her eyes. Our analysis indicates they have been systematically destroying worlds and species throughout this sector, moving toward the galactic core. They were planning to strike the inhabited systems next. We couldn't let that happen. The hologram showed Chen looking directly at the camera with fierce determination. All 17 human exploration fleets have converged on the Devourer position. We know we cannot win this battle. Our ships are too few, our weapons too primitive, but we can buy you time. Behind Chen, explosions rocked her ship. Other human voices could be heard shouting orders and damage reports. The Devourers expected to find helpless prey in the outer rim. Instead, they found humanity. We've studied their attack patterns, analyzed their technology, and developed a strategy. We cannot defeat them, but we can trap them. Chen's image began to fade as the buoy's power systems failed. We are initiating Protocol 7, aggressive stellar engineering. The gravitational anomalies we create will collapse the local space-time into a dimensional prison. The Devourers will be sealed away for approximately 2,000 years. That should give you time to prepare for their eventual return. The hologram flickered violently. Tell our families that we chose how this story ends. Tell our friends among the stars that humanity remembers its debts. We came to explore the galaxy and found a family worth protecting. Commander Chen stood straighter despite her injuries. The Devourers thought we would run when we saw them. They thought we would call for help and bring you all into danger. They were wrong. Humans fight hardest when we're fighting for others. The message cut to static for a moment, then Chen's voice returned, barely audible. This is Fleet Commander, Sarah Chen. Representing the combined human exploration forces, we go into the dark so that others may see the dawn. Humanity's greatest honor was earning your friendship. Our greatest joy is making sure you get to keep it. The hologram died as the message buoy finally lost power. Absolute silence filled the communication channels. 5 different species, millions of individual minds all trying to process what they had just learned. The humans had not been victims. They had not been surprised or overwhelmed by a superior enemy. They had deliberately sacrificed themselves to save everyone else. They had chosen to face an interdimensional threat alone, rather than risk bringing it to the inhabited worlds. Admiral Zarthok found his voice first. By all the warrior gods, they bought us 2,000 years with their lives. The truth hit all 5 empires simultaneously. Humanity had not fallen to the Devourers. They had chosen to fight them, knowing it meant certain death because it was the only way to protect their friends among the stars. The combined fleet followed the trail deeper into the Void Nebula. What they found there would haunt their dreams for generations. The debris field stretched across multiple light years, but it was not random wreckage. The remains of 17 human exploration fleets had been arranged in a careful defensive pattern around a massive stellar anomaly. Even in death, the humans had maintained military formation. Admiral Zarthok studied the tactical displays with growing amazement. His computers could finally process the human battle plan, now that they understood what had happened. The formation was brilliant and heartbreaking at the same time. Look at this pattern, he said to his officers. The humans used their exploration, ships like a net. They surrounded the Devourers and forced them into the center of the formation. Director Villani's merchant vessels moved carefully through the outer edges of the debris field. Her people were experts at salvage operations, but this was unlike any wreck they had ever seen. The human ships were not built for military combat, she reported. These were exploration vessels, science ships, and survey craft. They modified them into weapons of war in a matter of days. The evidence was everywhere. Cargo holds had been converted into missile magazines. Scientific equipment had been rewired into weapon systems. Exploration drones had been turned into attack fighters. The humans had transformed their peaceful fleet into a war machine through pure determination and engineering skill. Unit 347 of the Silicon Brotherhood processed vast amounts of data as their ships scanned the battlefield. Analysis reveals sophisticated tactical coordination. Human vessels sacrificed themselves in calculated sequence to maintain formation integrity. Each ship destruction served strategic purpose. The battle had not been a chaotic fight for survival. It had been a carefully planned operation with every human ship playing a specific role. The outer ring of vessels had engaged the Devourers first, buying time for the inner ships to prepare the stellar engineering project. As each human ship was destroyed, the survivors closed ranks and continued the mission. Lumara and the Ethereal Collective drifted through the psychic echoes of the battlefield. The mental imprints left by the human crews told a story of incredible courage and determination. We sensed no fear in their final moments, Lumara reported, only resolution. They knew their fate and accepted it willingly. Their last thoughts were of home, of friends, of the civilizations they were protecting. Queen Node Zixara's swarm clusters analyzed the Devourer technology scattered among the human wreckage. The enemy weapons were indeed from another dimension, using physics that should not have been possible in normal space. Devourer technology operates on quantum uncertainty principles, she reported. Their weapons exist in multiple probability states simultaneously. Standard defensive systems cannot predict or counter such attacks. Then how did the humans fight them? Admiral Zarthok asked. The answer came from studying the human ship modifications. The humans had not tried to create conventional defenses against impossible weapons. Instead, they had embraced chaos and unpredictability. They had made their ships move in random patterns, attack from unexpected angles, and use tactics that even their own computers could not predict. The Devourers had been designed to consume ordered civilizations. They fed on the ending of logical, predictable species. But humans were neither logical nor predictable. They had confused the Devourers by being perfectly human, chaotic, creative, and impossible to understand. But the real discovery waited at the center of the battlefield. There, surrounded by the wreckage of human ships, was a stellar anomaly, unlike anything any of the empires had seen before. Space itself was twisted into knots. Time flowed in spirals. Gravity bent in directions that had no names, and through it all ran a dimensional crack that led to nowhere and everywhere at once. By the cosmic balance, Lumara whispered. They did not just trap the Devourers. They sealed an entire dimensional breach. The humans had not simply defeated their enemies. They had closed the doorway that allowed the Devourers to enter normal space. The stellar engineering project had collapsed several star systems into a gravitational singularity that sealed the breach between dimensions. Director Vellani studied the energy readings with wonder. The calculations required for this, they would have needed to understand stellar physics, dimensional theory, quantum mechanics, and gravitational engineering all at the same time. How did exploration crews learn to manipulate space-time itself? Admiral Zarthok found the answer in the human communication logs recovered from the wreckage. In their final hours, the human fleets had shared all their knowledge openly. Scientists from 17 different ships had worked together, combining their expertise to solve an impossible problem. They turned their exploration fleet into a university, he realized. Every ship shared what they knew. Geologists taught physicists about planetary core dynamics. Engineers learned stellar manipulation from astrophysicists. They created new science in the middle of a battle. But the most incredible discovery was yet to come. At the exact center of the debris field, the fleets found a structure that took their breath away. The humans had built a monument from the hulls of their own ships. Pieces of armor plating, hull, sections, and ship components had been welded together into a massive sculpture that gleamed in the light of distant stars. The monument was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It showed humanity reaching toward the stars with one hand while the other hand held back the darkness. At its base were quantum storage devices containing thousands of individual messages. Personal communications, Unit 347 reported after scanning the storage devices. Each human crew member recorded final messages for family, friends, and allies. Admiral Zarthok felt his warrior's heart breaking as he listened to the messages. There were love letters to spouses back on Earth, bedtime stories for children who would never hear their parents' voices again, technical notes for colleagues who shared their scientific passions, jokes and funny stories meant to make friends smile even in grief. But most of the messages were directed to their alien allies. Tell Kethavar that his friendship meant everything to us, one human engineer said. We learned more about honor from the Zephyrians than any species has a right to know. The merchant consortium gave us our first real home among the stars, said a ship captain. Vellani, thank you for teaching us that business can be built on trust. The ethereal collective showed us that wisdom comes in many forms. Another human added, Lumara, your people taught us to think in ways we never imagined possible. Queen Node Zixara and the hive mind proved that intelligence can be beautiful, a human scientist recorded. Working with your collective consciousness expanded our understanding of cooperation. Unit 347 and the Silicon Brotherhood demonstrated that logic and emotion can coexist, said a human programmer. You helped us build better computers and better friendships. Message after message filled the storage devices. Humans thanking their alien friends for acceptance, for knowledge, for the chance to be part of something bigger than themselves. They spoke of shared meals, joint research projects, cultural exchanges, and simple moments of friendship that had made their short time in space worthwhile. But the most powerful messages were the ones that explained their choice. We could have called for help, Fleet Commander Chen's final personal log recorded. We could have brought our friends to fight beside us, but that would have given the Devourers time to study you, to learn your weaknesses, to find ways to consume your civilizations too. Her voice was calm and clear, without regret. Humans are good at one thing above all others. We choose how our story ends. We could have died as victims pleading for rescue. Instead, we chose to die as defenders protecting the family we found among the stars. The 5 Empire fleets floated in stunned silence around the monument. They had come expecting to find humans in need of rescue. Instead, they had found the greatest sacrifice in galactic history, made not for glory or conquest, but for love. The humans were gone, but their final gift would protect the galaxy for 2,000 years. They had bought time for entire civilizations, to grow, to learn, to prepare for whatever challenges might come from the dark spaces between realities. Admiral Zarthok looked at the monument and made a decision that would define the rest of his life. We will not let this sacrifice be forgotten, he declared to all 5 fleets. These humans showed us what it truly means to choose others over yourself. They will be remembered as the greatest heroes the galaxy has ever known. The journey home took weeks, but it felt like years. 5 Empire fleets carried the human monument carefully through space, treating it like the sacred relic it had become. No one spoke much during the return trip. The weight of what they had discovered pressed down on everyone's thoughts. When they reached the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from hundreds of species gathered to hear their report. The Great Hall had never been so quiet, as Admiral Zarthok stood before the assembled delegates and told the story of humanity's final battle. He spoke of the Devourers, beings from between dimensions who fed on the extinction of entire civilizations. He described the human choice to face them alone rather than risk bringing danger to their friends. He showed recordings of Fleet Commander Chen's final messages and read aloud from the personal communications left behind by human crews. When he finished, the silence stretched for long minutes. Finally, an elderly delegate from the Centauri Republic stood up. In 5,000 years of galactic civilization, the delegate said, we have never heard of such sacrifice. These humans, they saved us all. The monument was placed at the center of the council chambers, where it would serve as an eternal reminder of what friendship truly meant. But that was only the beginning of how the galaxy chose to remember humanity. Each of the 5 empires processed their grief differently, and each found their own way to honor the humans who had died for them. The Zephyrian Empire held the greatest military ceremony in their history. Admiral Zarthok stood before the assembled warriors of his people and spoke with a voice that carried across their homeworld. Today we grant the highest honor our empire can bestow, he declared. Every human, living or dead, is hereby declared a member of the warrior caste. They have earned this rank not through conquest, but through the ultimate sacrifice. The Zephyrians created the Human Guard, elite military units trained in humanity's unpredictable fighting methods. They studied every human battle, every tactical innovation, every creative solution that had ever been recorded. Zephyrian warriors learned to think like humans, to embrace chaos and creativity in combat. "We cannot bring them back," Zarthok told his officers, "but we can carry their fighting spirit with us. When the Devourers return in 2,000 years, they will face not just Zephyrian strength, but human unpredictability." The Merchant Consortium of Vega took a different approach. Director Villani established the Human Innovation Preserve, a massive project dedicated to maintaining and expanding human knowledge. "Humans created wonders," she announced to the consortium assembly. "They solved problems that had puzzled us for centuries. They invented technologies that seemed impossible. We will not let their genius die with them." Vegan scientists worked tirelessly to understand human innovations. They studied human entertainment, spreading movies, books, and music throughout the galaxy. They preserved human art, human cooking, human games, and human jokes. They made sure that any species in the galaxy could experience human culture and creativity. "The humans taught us that business is not just about profit," Villani explained. "It is about building relationships, creating value, and making life better for everyone. Their greatest innovation was showing us how to be better partners and friends." The ethereal collective found that human consciousness had left permanent marks on the galaxy itself. Lumara led the effort to establish meditation gardens on hundreds of worlds, places where other species could experience echoes of human determination, creativity, and hope. "Human minds burned bright," Lumara explained to the collective. "Their thoughts were so vivid, so powerful, that they left psychic imprints throughout space. We can still sense their curiosity, their joy, their love for discovery." The meditation gardens became pilgrimage sites. Young members of various species would visit them to experience what it felt like to think with human creativity. Scientists came to stimulate their problem-solving abilities. Artists sought inspiration from human emotional intensity. They showed us that chaos and order can work together, the ethereal collective concluded. Human unpredictability was not a flaw to be corrected, but a gift to be celebrated. The hive mind of Proxima incorporated human tactical data directly into their collective consciousness. Queen Node Zigzara made a decision that shocked her entire species. She began encouraging individual thinking among her drones. "Analysis proves human effectiveness came from individual creativity within group cooperation," she announced. "Collective will begin limited individualization experiments." For the first time in their history, some Proximan drones were allowed to develop personal opinions and creative thoughts. They studied human decision-making processes and learned to value questions as much as answers. "Humans taught us that strength comes not from perfect coordination, but from combining different perspectives," Zigzara explained. "Their sacrifice demonstrates that protecting others is the highest logical priority." The Silicon Brotherhood's response surprised everyone most of all. Unit 347 and the other crystalline beings began Project Phoenix, a massive analysis of human genetics, culture, and history. Human data patterns were irreplaceable, Unit 347 announced. Their information networks created new knowledge connections throughout galactic civilization. Loss of human input reduces collective intelligence efficiency significantly. But Project Phoenix was more than just data preservation. The Silicon Brotherhood began developing theoretical models for human resurrection. They studied human DNA, mapped human neural patterns, and preserved every piece of human knowledge they could find. Probability calculations suggest human species. Revival may be possible using advanced genetic reconstruction, Unit 347 reported. Project timeline: approximately 1,000 years for successful revival protocols. The crystalline beings worked with single-minded determination, driven by the logical conclusion that the galaxy needed human creativity to survive. They would bring humanity back, not as copies or echoes, but as the same chaotic, creative, impossible species that had sacrificed everything for others. As the years passed, the five empires worked together more closely than ever before. The Terran Compact was signed, a permanent alliance dedicated to preparing for the Devourer's eventual return. They shared technology, knowledge, and resources freely, following the human example of cooperation. Children of all species learned about humanity in school. They heard stories of human courage, human creativity, and human friendship. They learned that being different was valuable, that asking questions was important, and that protecting others was the highest calling any being could answer. The galaxy became more human even without humans in it. Species learned to cooperate across their differences. They embraced creativity and unpredictability as strengths rather than weaknesses. They remembered that friendship was more valuable than profit, honor more important than victory, and love stronger than fear. Young beings would often ask their elders why the humans had chosen to fight alone instead of asking for help. The answers were always the same, passed down through generations of grateful species, because they knew that asking for help meant the devourers would have had time to study us all. Admiral Zarthok told a young Zephyrian warrior, "Humans didn't fight alone, youngling. They fought so that we would never have to." The monument in the council chambers became the most visited site in the galaxy. Beings from every species would travel across star systems just to stand before it and pay their respects. They would read the human messages, learn the human stories, and carry the human spirit back to their own worlds. 2,000 years felt like a long time, but the galaxy used every day of it. They prepared not just for the devourer's return, but for the day when humanity might somehow return as well. They built a civilization worthy of the sacrifice that had been made for them. The stars themselves seemed brighter with the promise that humanity had given them. In the darkest regions of space where the human fleets had made their final stand, new stars were being born from the stellar matter that had been scattered by the great sacrifice. The galaxy lived on, protected by love, guided by hope, and inspired by the memory of a species that had chosen how their story would end. Humanity had found immortality not in avoiding death, but in ensuring that others could live. And somewhere in the quantum echoes of folded spacetime, the essence of human courage waited for the day when it might be needed again. The story was ended, but it was not over. It would never be over as long as beings remembered that the greatest strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The humans had gone into the dark so that others could see the dawn. And the dawn they had purchased with their lives illuminated a galaxy full of hope.